Welcome to the show, it's Mr. Mask TV. Serving all the drama just the way it should be. Stars and news making headlines daily. Turn up the volume, let's span it through globally. Entertainment drama, it's all in our queue. Celebrities and headlines coming straight to you. Stay tuned, stay bright, we got the newest scoop. Mr. Mask TV, bringing all the juicy news. Got the rumors and gossip you won't wanna miss.
Yeah, yeah. We got motion today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I got on my monkey D. Goofy hat today. So I'm gonna take this a little bit serious, alright? For those who've been waiting, those who've been wanting to know what's going on with the MLK files, I'm not finna short talk you. I'm gonna break it down to the best of my abilities, alright? You gonna read it like I read it, alright? But if you tuning in, be sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. This shit is serious. Hold on. I ain't got my background music on, but best believe I'm gonna play my background music. Now, I don't like what's going on. I got videos coming up that I'm gonna do as well. Um, what I got coming up? I got the next episode that was the baddest. For those who tune in and watch all my content on baddest, got that coming up. What else I got coming up after that? Um, I got part two of MLK files. So we gonna dive deep into this and see what even happened. You know, when I say they, I ain't talking about no side. It don't matter blue or red. They all work together in the end. Now, we finna crack down these MLK files. Now, I know we might come across some sensitive motherfuckers. Y'all welcome to leave y'all comments, okay? I'm cool with that. Let me take this damn hat off. Y'all got me fucked up. I'm cool with that. But best believe what we read is what we read. Don't give me that shit, because I'm gonna try to depict this shit the best way I can to my ability. Okay? Don't make me start talking in my Tony Montana voice. So, oh shit, this is kind of too loud. Let me turn this down a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, so, like I said, hit the like, comment, subscribe. Are y'all welcome, okay? You learning just like I'm learning, okay? Shit. Now, I ain't talking about politics, none of that. It's just MLK. Now, Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, subject Martin Luther King Jr., file number, yada yada, Federal Bureau Investigation. This shit is serious. Hold on, wait. See, I wasn't even prepared today. Now, let me know if you can't see what's going on. If I need to make the screen, oh shit. Yeah, y'all can't see shit. Okay, my bad. Here we go. To your best of your abilities. Now attaches a copy of the excluded version of the yada yada yada. Report to office, task force. Okay, that ain't in there important. Let's see. Exercise report, FBI Martin Luther King investigations. Also, he was under investigation. Wait, what am I reading? Okay. The mission of the task force, the problem, the attorney, the general directive, the task force, and its method of review. These are the pages. Let me see, because I want to get to the good shit. The murder, the performance, just response, information and physical evidence track. Okay, we got a lot of information in these files. Now, the introduction. The mission of the task force, the problem. Now, on November 1st, 1975, William C. Sullivan, former Assistant Director of Domestic Intelligence Division, Federal Bureau of Investigation, testified before Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities. He related that from late 1963 and continuing until the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the target of an intensive campaign by the FBI to neutralize him as an effective civil rights leader. Mm, you heard it out his mouth. What was his name? We're gonna go back. William C. Sullivan. William C. Sullivan. Go do your research. Look him up. Now Sullivan. Hey, look. Sullivan attached in the war against King. No holds, no holds were barred. Report number 94-73755. Man, I can't read this. Okay, to the best of my abilities. Okay, bear with me. Now I ain't old now. The final report of the select committee to study governmental operations with respect intelligence activities. Book 2, the others testimony describing this FBI counterintelligence campaign against King reached the public through the news and media. Of course, they fueled the shit. You should already know they had to partake in this shit. Now, as a consequence, there was a resignation of a widespread speculation on the possibility that the Bureau may have had some responsibility in Dr. King's death and may not have done an imperative and through investigation of the assassination. Woo! Now, the Attorney General's directive. Okay, we're just going down. So okay, so far what we know, what we together, so y'all can reflect. I'm gonna just break it down to a simple minded aspect. Okay, for what we know. Okay, I'm gonna go back because I'm gonna say his name. I like to break shit down so people can understand. William C. Sullivan, former assistant director, okay, of domestic intelligence division. So he was a part of the Intelligence Association. Something we worked for them, okay. This came out of his mouth. Now, he testified before the State Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities. So, a government organization within the organization that expect and I guess watch over them. You get what I'm saying? If you understand, you understand. Okay. Now he was the one who spilled the beans on this shit. Now he said his own people tried to take MLK out. Now the Attorney General's directive. On November 24th, 1975, the Attorney General of the United States directed the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to undertake and review the file of the department and its Federal Bureau of Investigation to determine whether the investigation of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King should be reopened. Now, more particularly, it was sought to be determined. So be determined meaning it's pending, okay? Meaning they're gonna put that motherfucking file somewhere and set it to the side, okay? They ain't worried about that fucking file because they probably got some shit that they trying to cover up on their ass with that file, okay? This is why Trump released the files. This is why everything's going on the way it is, okay? I'm just breaking it down for y'all from a simple-minded aspect, okay? They've been trying to cover this shit for the longest. This is why you got a lot of people that's stepping down and all this shit because the truth is coming out. Now, I also want to say in these files, if you Martin Luther King lover, I understand. Okay, I understand what things Martin Luther King did, but you gotta understand, maybe, hey, shit might be revealed. So if you if you can't bear to witness what the fuck finna partake and go down and understand that, hey, a person is a person, but still, okay, just listen. Now, the review up to April 26, 1976. In the next 4 months, the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Civil Rights Division, his principal, Deputy Assistant Attorney General, and Chief of the Criminal Section of the Civil Rights Division, acting at, as a review staff, variously read portions of the FBI headquarters file on a person who served as advisors to Dr. King, portions of the FBI headquarters, a secretary's file of Dr. King himself, of the FBI headquarters file on the assassination investigation, and some department as opposed FBI files relating to Dr. King and other burial documents, including everything on Martin Luther King Jr., held in the late J. Edgar Hoover's official, confidential, and personal file. So J. Edgar Hoover was already doing research on MLK, so they already had information on top of information on this man. Okay, that means they was watching everything he fucking do, basically. Now, by the memorandum of the Attorney General dated April 9th, 1976, the Assistant Attorney General in charge of the Civil Rights Division submitted a 51-page report of the Chief of the Civil Rights Division Criminals Section dated March 3rd, 1976, embodying the results of the three-man study limited to above listed files and concentrating almost exclusively of pre-assassination surveillance of and counter. Yeah, like I said, basically what they saying is they was watching this man. Okay, they had surveillance on top of surveillance on Dr. Martin Luther King, meaning this man was damn near being watched wherever the fuck he go, probably his family too. Okay, it's basically what it's fucking saying. Now, the Assistant Attorney General recommended the creation of the Department Task Force to complete the review, and his team had began. So they made a whole task force within the whatever fucking corporation, the intelligence, whatever. They made their own task force on this. Okay. Now, the further review purposely included rogation of material witness, reading all in the parent field office files, and reviewing all of the headquarters files relating to Dr. King and other civil rights activists. So you had people from within that was looking into within. So basically, I'm gonna say this now because this is what it seems. This is what it seemed to be looking like. The FBI, all the shit that y'all been doing, covering up, whether it's been you think you've been covering up, it hasn't been being covered up because actually your ass has been under investigation. Is what I'm fucking seeing and what's really going on. Because this is like fucking people working against people within working against people that's working for the same fucking people basically, all up teamed up to go against people like MLK, JLK, people that speak their mind, people that tell the people for what it is. They want to help people free their mind basically. This is what I'm getting out of it. Okay. Now the attorney general or free just freedom period. Okay. Shit, we shouldn't be botting out. That's what I think. Okay. I think people should just be living. Shit. If the animals can do it, why the fuck can't we? Why we gotta go to look, we not finna get into that aspect in that talk, okay? Now the electronic surveillance, which a review to determine which such material should be legally destroyed. The Assistant Attorney General felt that the FBI should assess the culpability of its agents involved in wrongdoing by the principal named in the report. Ooh, so they wanted them to take responsibility of the agents that fucked up and did what they did, and they weren't supposed to. Now, his memorandum to the Attorney General concluded that the possibly criminal, regardless of what time barred, the civil remedies might be able to might be available to the King family, but might also be more embarrassing than helpful, and hence that the consideration be given to direct payment by the settlement process by private bill or corporate of the King survivors, or who with the survivors concurrence the King Foundation. If the last issue were left on task force or attorney commission, it should consider the pros and cons, recommend as it sees fit. Ooh, basically, they fucked up so bad that in this document it says that these motherfuckers should be held accountable and all the assets that they get taken away if they take go see the court, because I think that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna fucking sue them. and they can take all their fucking money, everything. They can take everything. That's what I fucking just got out of it. Okay, hold on, hold on, hold on. Listen, okay. He said, okay, the civil remedies might be available to the king family, but might also be more embarrassing than helpful. So they say that this information is available to the king family, but they was also trying to cover it up because it's a lot of information in here. Like I said, false idols, where it might also be embarrassing to the family, like they said. But hence that consideration be given to a direct payment by the settlement process on a private bill to direct payments process on a private bill to compensate the king survivors. So that's anybody in the king that wear the king name or with the survivors' current concurrence of the King Foundation. If the last issue was left on a task force or advisory commission, it should consider the pros and cons and recommend as see fit. Yeah, they about to get some money up out of y'all. That whole fucking family finna eat because it's already there and it's been already fucking documented. So they already know that you're capable of what y'all fucked up is. And when I say for y'all, I mean that three-letter group. Tune in, tune in, tune in, tune in. Okay, this ain't shit. It gets serious. All right, it gets serious around here. I can't even hear shit. I ain't even got the headphones on. Hold on. Okay, I can hear it now. As I was saying, we break it down to nitty gritty on this motherfucker. Now, the Attorney General and Fort Miranda, yada yada. I'm not finna read all this shit. Okay, I'm finna just finna skip through y'all. Okay, we gonna get to the real shit. Wait, what is this? It's somebody review. Okay, wait, hold on. The Attorney General charge office of professional responsibility, which work of complete and review began by the Civil Rights Division. His uh, his memorandum states. Okay, this is his memorandum or his review of what the Civil Rights Division because they was under investigation. I'm guessing. My request of the review involved four matters. First, whether the FBI investigation of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination was thorough and honest. Second, whether there was any evidence that the FBI was involved in the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Third, in light of the first question, whether there is any new evidence which has come to the attention of the department concerning the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, which should be dealt with by the appropriate authorities. Fourth, whether the nature of the relationship between the Bureau and Dr. Martin Luther King's calls for criminal prosecution, disciplinary proceedings, or other appropriate action. Oh, y'all gonna be held accountable for this shit. That's what they fucking saying. That's what it seemed like. Motherfuckers gonna be held accountable for this shit. And y'all know who it's gonna be. Now, and fourth point, again, note the form of particle review which has been made. Mr. Pottinger conclude we have found that the FBI undertook a systematic program of harassment of Martin Luther King by means both legal and illegal in order to distract him, harm both him and the movement he led, assuming that the major statutory violations related to the conduct, which will be 18 USC, Section 241 and Section 242. Mr. Porter memorandum concludes that any prosecution contemplated under those acts would now be barred by the 5 year statute of limitations, with the possible exception which would exist if there were proof of a wait, what? Of a continuing conspiracy. Mm-mm-mm. Oh shit. They even put in what codes y'all broke. And to the matter of new evidence with respect to the assassination, by understanding is that the department has never closed the Martin Luther King file and the numerous allegations of the possible involvement of co-conspirators and promptly investigated the thrust of the review, whether the new look and what was done by the Bureau of Investigation of the assassination of the relationship between the Bureau and I'm guessing MLK. Yeah, and give different emphasis on new clue in any way to question the involvement in the crime. At this point in the review, I can read the memoranda. Nothing has burned. Nothing has turned up relevant on this letter point. The review is not complete. My Mr. Porter, all those who have committed upon his memorandum recommend that this review be completed. Mr. Porter also made other recommendation, recommendations upon which there is some difference of opinion. In my review, it's essential that the review be completed as soon as possible and as thorough as basic answer the basic questions and review of what has already been done and is the tentative conclusion reached, especially in phases, also should be given in fourth, yada yada yada. My conclusion of the review, he said, conducted by the Civil Rights Division, is that it has now shown that this Larry in view wait that this complete review is necessary, particularly in view of the conclusion to the systematic program of harassment. If your review turns up matters for specific action, we should discuss the best way to proceed on each such case. So basically, the review was completed, but the review didn't go nowhere because they couldn't find any evidence. That's what I gathered out of this. I'm so confused. But yet it's saying that y'all will be look. You know what? Y'all cook. I don't know. The task force and the method of review. Let me see. Senior man letter was assigned to take task force. This committee. Okay, this is task force. Okay, judged by the Civil Rights Division Assistant Attorney General and his two assistants, primary on their family, uh, their what? Familiarity with the Department of File of Investigation as had processed since 1968. The Civil Rights Division, Martin Luther King Jr. Review memoranda reflected a study has been made. Only the first 10 sections of the FBI headquarters file on the assassination investigation. Only a random inspection was done on some of the remaining 74 sections. Oh, interesting. There was no factual discussion or analytics. So they didn't even have fucking oh. The conclusion was reached by the Civil Rights Division staff that the Bureau of Investigation was comprehensive, thorough, and professional. Murphy memorandum of March 31st, 1976. It was determined, therefore, to begin a task force, a study with a complete review of the files of the FBI investigation of the assassination. Hmm. Now it was the cons- consensus of the review team by the approaching of the whole task of first examining the character and completeness of the manner investigation and answer could be made to the Attorney General's question as the borough performance In that regard, also an answer could be indicated to his question going to the borough's possible responsibility, if any, direct or indirect, for Dr. Martin Luther King's death. Now, after the examination of the FBI's investigation of the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King, the review team proceeded to go back and complete the inquiry into the borough's pre-assassination relationship with Dr. Martin Luther King. Necessary included again in the second stage of our review of the consideration of whether the FBI was in any way implicated in the murder directly or indirectly. Something fishy. Something is fishy is going on. So it's already been proven that they was watching this man, but they getting watched the whole time. But it seemed like people been covering up shit and letting it slide. That's what it seemed like. People been throwing this shit under the rug to cover it up because they don't want shit to get out because y'all know y'all fucked up. It's like that saying, you know you fucked up, right? You know you fucked up. Yeah, you know you fucked up. Now, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Comment, subscribe. This shit is deep, okay? This shit is deep. We ain't even cracked the door yet. We ain't even get through the damn front door yet. We barely fucking in right now. And it's a lot of bullshit because they trying to make shit to cover their ass. But hey, we gonna get to the nitty gritty. And let me just say, if I'm reading this, y'all might come across or hear something that you might not want to hear about MLK. And you know what? If you're a fan, it's okay. It's okay. But all I can say to you is expect the unexpected, and don't get it mad at me because I'm just a messenger here. I'm doing what you can do. You can go look this shit up yourself, okay? That's what I'm doing, okay? But what you're not finna do is blame me like it's my fault, okay? I ain't got, I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. I'm just reading out the information, you feel me? That's it, that's all. I don't like this color, so this color gotta go, man. This color gotta go, man. I gotta go. That's too bright for me. Okay, let's go back. Um, I'm gonna get to some good stuff. We're gonna scroll down a little bit. This shit deep, man. It's crazy. So, mm, crazy, crazy, crazy. The assassination investigation. Okay, this is the investigation right here. Now, to understand the movement of Dr. Martin Luther King during the circulated period, it is necessary to briefly discuss the Poor People's Campaign, um, POCAM, originally called the Washington Spring Project, in which he and the SCLC were involved. POCAM was scheduled to begin the first week of April 1968 and was involved in re- recruiting some of 3,000 poor employed blacks from 16 locations in the United States for the purpose of going to Washington, D.C. and presiding the government to improve their economic status. The plan was to camp on the Washington Momentum, Lincoln Memorial Ground during the first and second weeks. Demands would be made of congressmen and head of departments, such as the Secretary of Labor. If the demands were not met, nonviolent demonstrations were being conducted. Now, Dr. King planned to travel schedule for February and March included trips to 9 major cities and visits also to federal points in Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. By mid-February, Dr. King had become discouraged with the lack of progress and recruiting and training demonstrators. Now, during the low point of camp, Dr. King was persuaded to alter his plans and go to Memphis, Tennessee, in support of the strike involving the city's sanctions workers. Now, Memphis sanctioned worker strike. Now, this is a strike. On February 12th, 1968, approximately 1,000 sanctioned workers employed by the city of Memphis called a wildcat strike. The strikers was represented by local 1733 of America's Federation of State, County, and municipal employees who demanded exclusive recognition of the union and badgering against setting up grievance procedures, wage improvements, payroll deductions, union dues, and promotion system, as well as pension, hospitalization, life insurance programs, all that. Okay, so they was on strike for a reason. You feel me? Now NAACP introverted the strike because all of the sanctions workers, excluding drivers, were black. Now, a militant young black power group known as the Invaders was similarly interested in the strike. The group consisted of about 15 members, mostly school dropouts, and was a cell of a large group known Black Organizing Power, or BOP, headed by Charles L. Cabbage and John B. Smith. Uh, the alleged purpose of BOP was to simulate a sense of black identity, black pride, and black consciousness in young blacks. Now, right on to that, I can dig with that. Now, the strikers was also supported by a group of black um, ministers connected with the Memphis Interdocumental Ministerial Alliance, who adopted the name COME, Community of Move for Equality. So come. It was members of this group that were instrumental in bringing Dr. King to Memphis on March 3rd, 1968. Reverend James M. Larson Jr., pastor of the uh, Cemetery Methodist Church, Memphis, and member of the Come stand on a television program that he wanted to bring Dr. King and other heads of civil rights organizations to Memphis in the efforts to unify the entire black community behind the demand of the strikers. The intervention of the various black community organizations caused the city of Memphis to be uh, concerned about the racial overtones of the strike and possibly of violence. Damn. So you learn a lot. Hey, if you tuning in, just know I'm gonna break this shit down. I get it. You understand? I understand. We too. We here. Now, Dr. King made his first visit to Memphis in support of the strike in the night of March 18th, 1968. Now, on this occasion, in addressing an estimated crowd of 9,000 to 12,000 people at a rally sponsored, I'm not saying that word like that because I'm not with that CO. So I'm going to say COME at the Mansion Temple. He called from the general protest date on March 22nd, 1968. All blacks were asked not to go to work or school on that day and were urged to participate in a massive downtown march. Now, Dr. King and his party stayed at the Lorraine Motel, 406 Mulberry Street, on the night of March 18, 1968. and left Memphis shortly before noon, March 19th, 1968, ostensibly to go to the state of Mississippi in connection with the POCAM. The city of Memphis was virtually paralyzed by the 16-inch snowfall on March 22nd of 1968, resulting in the postponement of the planned mass march of March to March 28th, 1968. Now, Dr. King returned to Memphis on the 28th, arriving at the airport at approximately 10:22 a.m. By that time, approximately 5,000 to 6,000 people, about half of whom were of school age, had congregated at the Claiborne Temple, located at 208 Hernando Street, for the start of the march. Now, according to the plan of the march, the sanctions workers was in front with the remainder of the people following behind. The march was to proceed north of Fernando to Beale Street. There west on Beale Street to the Main Street and north of Main Street to City Hall. The march go underway at approximately 11 a.m. and had proceeded to Hernando and Bell before it was joined by Dr. King with the front of the march, led by Dr. King, reached Main Street. The teenagers and young adults at the rear of the march near 3rd and Beale, 2 blocks from the front of the march, front of the march, ripped the signs of their poles and began breaking stores, windows, and looting. Mass confusion developed, and the police moved and quell the disturbance. Oh shit! And this is where you get riots breaking out. Now, disruption of march caused Dr. King's sides to commander. Uh, Dr. King's side to commandeer automobile, and Dr. King and his party was escorted by police to the retirement hotel operated by the Holiday Inns of America. Dr. King left in March at 11:15 a.m. and checked to the Rivermount Hotel at 11:24 a.m., where he stayed until March 29, 1968. Dr. King and his party were scheduled to return to Atlanta on March 28, 1968 at 9:05 p.m. via Eastern Airlines and were scheduled to leave the Atlanta the morning of March 29, 1968 for Baltimore, thus remaining in Memphis on the night of 28 with a change in plans. Woo! It's a lot. Okay, bear with me. Now, the city ordered a 7 p.m. curfew, and approximately 35,000 members of the Tennessee National Guard were called out to end the violence. Now, during the disturbance, 4 blacks were shot, one fatally, approximately 150 fires were set, and over 300 persons were arrested. Approximately 1% of the marchers engaged in looting and violently, and many of these were people who were criminally included and who in the previous trouble. Wait, how much percent they said? 1%? Approximately 1% of the marchers. Okay. Now, what was I at? The March 29th, 1968, the issue of Memphis Commercial Appeal reported that many of the looters, window breakers, were black power advocates, and the several were jackers of the invaders. However, other sources, including Lieutenant E.H. Akin of Memphis Police Department, indicated that many high school age students put the word invaders on their jackets for effect and were not necessarily affiliated with the BOP movement. The violence and disturbance of the march was of great concern to Dr. King because of the possible effect it uh, might have of the planned POCAM. Therefore, he vowed to return to Memphis and demonstrate that he had not lost his effectiveness in leading nonviolent marches. Dr. Martin Luther King, with SCLC staff, returned to Memphis on April 3rd of 1968 at 10:33 a.m. After a press conference at the airport. The group proceeded to the Lorraine Motel, arriving there at approximately 11:20 a.m. About 12:05 p.m. Dr. Martin Luther King left the Lorraine Motel for a meeting at the Sanctuary Methodist Church Society surveillance and report of the GP Times. Inspector Memphis Police Department, dated July 17, 1968. Now, Dr. King announced at the meeting that his purpose in returning to Memphis was to lead the mass march on April 8th of 1968. However, on April 3rd, 1968, the United States District Court Judge Bailey Brown issued a temporary restraining order against further marches in Memphis. And Dr. Martin Luther King returned to Lorraine Motel at 2:55 p.m. And sometime that afternoon, federal marshals served him and his aide with the restraining order. Now, the Secretary and Surveillance Representative of GP Times, Inspector of Memphis Police Department, dated July 17, 1968, at approximately 4 p.m. Dr. Martin Luther King and the SCLC staff met with BLP Group, which time Charles Cabbage requested money to institute BLP plans to start libertation school, and black uh, what was this co-op. Dr. King agreed to use his influence to secure funds for BLP, and Rev. Andrew Young agreed to help write up a plan. Now, it's believed that these concessions were made to BLP in order to keep them in line and prevent them from following violent pattern. Now, on the night of April 3rd of 1968, Dr. King spoke to approximately 2,000 persons in the Memphis Temple, and he emphasized that the scheduled mass march must be held on April 8th to refocus attentions to 8-week-old sanctions, uh, assassinate, wait, 18-old assassination, sanitation worker strike. I'm getting tongue tied with my words. Excuse me, y'all. Been reading for a minute now. Now, after the speech, Solomon Jones Jr., serving as Dr. King's chauffeur, drove him back to the Lorraine Motel. Dr. King told Jones to report back Thursday morning, April 4th, 1968 at 8:30 a.m. because he had to appear in court in connecting with the restraining order. Now, according to now this is Dr. King activities. Oh shit. Oh boy. Now, according to Mr. Georgia Davis of Louisville, Kentucky, she and Reverend A.D. William King and Mrs. LaRue Ward arrived at the Memphis Hotel at April 4th, 1968 from Florida and registered at the Lorraine Motel at approximately 1 a.m. Upon inquiring about Dr. King, and he was told that he was attending a strategy meeting at a church. There, then the three that went to the church, but Dr. King was not there. Returning to the motel, Dr. King's brother, Mr. Davis, and Mrs. Moore conversed in room 217 until they observed Dr. King, along with Reverend Ralph Alderly and Bernard Lee, getting out of the taxi cab in the motel courtyard about 4:30 a.m. Dr. Martin Luther King was invited to room 207 where he visited his brother, Mrs. Davis, Mrs. Ward until 5 a.m. Then he went to room 306 where he and Dr. Reverend Albany uh, were registered at about A half hour later, Dr. King went to room 201 where he visited Mrs. Davis for approximately 1 hour. Afterwards, he returned to room 306 for a strategy meeting scheduled for 8 a.m. Solomon Jones, Dr. King's chauffeur, returned to the Lorraine Hotel at about 8:30 a.m. to take him to court. Wait, what's going on here? There's a lot of rooms to be going out of in the motel, brother. I'm just saying. Hold on. Hold up. However, Reverend Andrew and Young advised Jones that he was going to court instead of Dr. King. Therefore, Jones was requested to remain in the motel. Now, Dr. King remained at the motel the entire day, returned to room 201 at about 1:30 p.m. to visit uh, Mrs. Davis. He was later joined in the room 201 by his brother, Miss Ward, uh, Aberney, Lee Young, and attorney Chauncey Eldridge. The group conversed until about 5:45 p.m. Wait, hold on. Okay, conversed to where Dr. King announced that they were going to dinner at the home of Reverend Billy Cowles. Ooh. Enters room 306 to dress. Dr. King saw Solomon Jones Jr. in the motel courtyard and told him to start the car as they were preparing to go to dinner. Now, at approximately 6 p.m., Dr. King and Reverend Alberty started to leave room 306. Reverend Albertini stopped for a moment, and Dr. King walked onto the balcony just outside the door of the room. He saw Jones standing beside the car on the ground on the level and began to conversation of the weather. And Jones advised Dr. King that he should put on the top cat, and it was cool outside. During the conversation, Dr. King was facing west and Jones was facing east. And looking up Dr. King from the ground on the level, and Dr. King acknowledged Jones' concern about getting his top cat. Jones heard a sound which he thought was a firecracker, and Dr. King fell to the floor of the balcony in front of the room. Jones immediately called for help, and a number of Dr. King's allies who were either in the room or standing in the courtyard rushed to his side. Damn, that's crazy. Woo! Now we get into the dirt, y'all. How long we been on this motherfucker? I ain't getting no like, no nothing. Dang. Wow. Woo. Unmasking. Now, it ain't easy breaking this shit down. It ain't easy, but somebody gotta do it. I think I'm gonna do two parts. So I'm gonna finish this one up, and then I'm gonna do a part two. Cause I ain't gonna be on this shit for long. But just know, you better be hitting that like. You better be commenting. Share this motherfucking video. Let's get up to 100 likes. Something. You feel me? Cause it's serious. It's serious right now. Okay. This is unclassified documents. Never before seen. You ain't gonna get this anywhere. Okay? They don't talk about this. They be hiding shit like this. So when you get it, you gotta pay attention, okay? Now I done heard too much shit already so far. They got me like question mark, quickly. It's a lot going on. Oh, I ain't even get my light on. Why y'all ain't tell me? It's a lot going on. Now, good old doc. I don't know what we might scroll up on, but just know I'm just a messenger, y'all. I'm just reading. I'm just reading. That's what I can. That's what I'm here to do. You can see for yourself. If I said anything off key, you can't say I'm lying. You can't say you making this up. Cause I know you finna get people that's sensitive. You hear something you don't want to hear. Under these documents, like I said, they've been watching the man. They've been watching him for a minute, tracking movements, all that. I'm just saying. Now, Not saying Dr. King is a bad person, okay? But anyway, you never know. That's all I gotta say. So you never know where you're gonna go. We unmasked. You came to hit one of them sympathy trials and all this and worship and all that shit. You ain't getting it from me. We breaking this shit down plural. I will not be skipping over anything for the protection and none of that shit. You get the real raw. Okay. When you come to here, you come to this channel, you get the real raw. If you don't like the real raw, check your ass to one of them other channels. Go to one of them Jigsaw channels or some shit. It don't matter to me, okay? You want to be lied to, that's on you. You listen to that type of news all day, okay? When you come this way, you getting the proof, okay? Oh, also, I forgot. I got a video to do on baddies, so I ain't gonna be on this month too long. And I also got a video to do on politics stuff. So yeah, check me out later. But we gonna keep scrolling. We gonna keep going. Okay, we gonna keep going. Now, FBI intelligence on local police and activities. Now, former informants Robert G. Jensen, the special agent in charge of the Memphis field office, and Joseph Hester, cast agent of Merkin, have unequivocally assured the task force there was no electronic surveillance of Dr. Martin Luther King in Memphis. Now, it was explained that Memphis was not in the mainstream of Dr. Martin Luther King SCLC activities. Interview of Special Agent Joe Heschner, June 23rd, 1976. However, the FBI agents did observe the sanctioned workers' strike activities for intelligence purposes, and the Memphis Police Department paid informants did supply information of the field office. Uh, Interview of former SPAC Robert Jensen on July 7th, 1976. Okay, y'all, hold on real quick. I'll get something to drink. Be right back after these messages. Whoa, my bad. Y'all gotta bear with me, okay? I'm just getting over sickness, alright? So bear with me. My bad. As I was saying, if I was really interrupted by this cough. Now, that would suggest that these informants were connected in any way would suggest assassination with Dr. Luther King, the MPD infiltration of the invaders, and the aggression. In addition to the paid FBI informants, an officer of the MPD infiltrated the invaders in the undercover operation. The former the officer was later exposed and is no longer with the MPD. Of course they not. Of course they not. And I bet you they still retire with their pension too. Was interviewed by the task force. The undercover assignment began February of 1968 for the specific purpose of the intelligence. The invaders, who became active about the same time of the sanctioned worker strike, according to the office, MPD was primarily interested in the invaders, not Dr. Martin Luther King, because the MPD was concerned about what they might do. Now, the police officers were in fact accepted as a member of the invaders. What? The police officer was in fact accepted as a member of the invaders, as a what? Participated in their activities. Is y'all listening to what the fuck they saying? This is how they take organizations down. This is what y'all fail to realize. They find somebody that can get on the inside. So the person that was the informant was also a member of the group that they was after. That's how it goes. That's how they collect information. That's how they get data. That's how they get what they need on you. Okay, they infiltrate from the inside. It's a great war tactic. Okay, if you know war tactics, it's a war tactic that people use. Okay, you feel me? They've been doing it for decades. Now, the police officer was in fact accepted, I'll read that again, as a member of the invaders and participated in their activities, meaning their protests, maybe their rioting, whatever they're doing, they participated in. Now, on the evening of April 4th of 1968, when Dr. King was shot, the informant had been on a shopping trip with the Reverend James Bevel. Now, Reverend James, hold the fuck up. Okay, let me repeat that. The informant had been on a shopping trip with the Reverend James Bevel and Reverend James Orange. Now, the informant said he returned to the Lorraine Motel at approximately 5 p.m. and was standing at the motel courtyard at the time Dr. Martin Luther King was shot. Now, he is positive that the shot that killed Martin Luther King came from the rear of the building, which front of which front on the South Main Street. Now, MPV surveillance detail and removal detective uh, Reddit from duty. Now, from the time Dr. King's return to Memphis, April 3rd, 1968, until the time of his assassination, he was under physical surveillance by the MPD. Upon learning Dr. King's flight schedule, Inspector G.P. Trines, is it Tyne, of the MPD Inspectional Bureau instructed two black plainclothes officers, Detective Detective Edward E. Reddit, and Patrolman Willie B. Richmond, to go to the airport to observe the arrival of Dr. King and keep them under continuous surveillance in order to see uh, with he came in contact. Now, according to Inspector Tynes, the surveillance was ordered because Dr. King was a controversial figure and had met with local black militants on his prior visit to Memphis. Now, while at the airport, Mrs. Thomas Matthews pointed her finger at Reddit and told him that she was going to get him. Reports of GB Times, July 17th, 1968, uh, security and surveillance of Dr. King. Now this a lot, man. So soon as they touched down, they was already watching them, man. They already had people on them, and if you notice what they said, they placed the brothers on them. So they had two black cops they placed on them. That was both brothers. Okay, to make them blend in, make them look like they was cool. You know, that's how they get you. Okay, it's like I said, these are all texts that they use. They infiltrate. I'm telling you, they got a lot of war texts. They still don't. They use the same ones, or some try. They use some of different rulers, different leaders. Like they do that shit. They study that shit. Okay, they got classes they take on this shit, bro. You know how it go. Now, in addition to the surveillance details, Assistant Chief of Police W.P. Houston ordered a detail of four men, commanded by the Inspector Don H. Smith, to go to the airport for the purpose of providing security to Dr. King, while waiting for the Dr. King to arrive. Mrs. Thomas Matthews advised Lieutenant George K. Davis that she'd come to the airport to pick up Dr. King and that no one had asked for police to be assigned to him. Now, the Inspector Smith also asked Reverend James Lawson where they were going, and they left the airport, and he replied, "We have not fully made up our minds." Nevertheless, when Dr. King and his party left the airport, the Inspector Smith and his men followed them to the Marine Motel, arriving at approximately 11:20 a.m. with the assistance of Inspector J.S. Galvin. Two other officers, Inspector Smith and his man, secured the entrances of the motel. Oh boy. Now, Dr. King and his party left the Lorraine Motel at approximately 12:05 p.m. and were followed by the security detail of the Sanitarian Methodist Church, which a meeting was held. The detail secured the front, rear, and rear entrances of the church until approximately 2:15 p.m., where Dr. King and his group returned to the motel. Now, the security detail then returned to the motel area and resumed their positions until they were ordered to the headquarters by Chief J.C. McDonald. Interesting. Now, at approximately 5:05 p.m., Inspector G.P. Trines stated in his report that they were not conferred, that he was not conferred with, and has no idea why security detail was removed from Dr. King after 5:05 p.m. Now, Florida Chief McDonald has no present recollection of the security detail interviews. Something fishy going on. You see what I mean? Now, it's the interview of James C. McDonald, former chief MPD. This was on December of 1922. December 22nd of 1976. Uh, Timestamp it. Boom. There you go. Your evidence for all those. How you know if it was true? Boom. They put the date and everything in there. Now, the secretary detail was not resumed on April 4th, 1968. Reports of inspectors Don H. Smith and J.S. Galeno inspired the report of Inspector G.P. Times. Now, as separate activity for the security detail, Detective Detective Reddit and Patrolman Richmond went to the airport on April 3rd and observed Dr. King's arrival. That's when they were spying on his ass. Now, when Dr. King last left the airport, they followed him to Lorraine Motel and learned that he was registered in the room 306. The Frederick telephone headquarters and informed Inspector Times where Dr. King was staying. Then, approximately 12:05 p.m., Reddit and Richmond followed Dr. King and his party to the Cemetery Methodist Church, where a closed meeting of approximately 30 black ministers was scheduled. Now, Reddit again called headquarters and advised his superiors of his location. Now, Reddick was instructed to leave Richmond at the church and for him to return to the area of Lorraine Motel for the purpose of finding a suitable place where close surveillance could be kept on the motel. Now Richmond remained uh, at this church until the meeting was over at approximately 2:15 p.m. Richmond then went to Clayton Temple, where he thought Dr. King would address the uh, sanitation workers prior to a scheduled 3 p.m. march. However, Dr. King did not make the appearance there. Richmond telephoned headquarters about 3:30 p.m., and was advised that Dr. King had returned to the motel and Redrick had set up a surveillance post at fire station number 2, located at the South Main and Butler Streets. Now, Richmond immediately left Claiborne Temple and joined Redrick at the fire station. Interviewed patrolman W.B. Richmond approximately at April 9th, 1968. Whew, that's a lot. Now, the rear of the fire station overlooks the Roy Motel and provided an excellent vantage point where Redrick and Richard could observe. Dr. King and his associates then entered and left the motel. On April 3rd, Redrick and Richmond remained at their observation post until 6:35, which they were relieved by Lieutenant E.H. Arkin and Lieutenant J.V. Piper of the MPD Internal Security Bureau. Statement of Edward E. Reddick, April 10th. After leaving their observation, Redrick and Richmond went to Mons Temple, where Dr. King scheduled to address a mass meeting. Shortly after they arrived at the temple, Reddick was approached by Reverend Malcolm B. Blackburn and told that they were word out that he was over the fire station near Lorraine Motel, spying with binoculars. Blackburn also advised Richmond that the temple was the wrong place for him because the tension was too high. Fearing they would get exposed, Redrick and Richmond left the meeting at approximately 8:50 p.m. Now, Reverend Richmond resumed their surveillance of the Gray Motel from the fire station on April 4th at 1968 at 10:30 a.m. At approximately 12:50 p.m., Reddick received a threatening telephone call from a female who stated that he was doing black people wrong and they were going to do him wrong. Damn. Interesting. Yeah, your ass a rat. That's what happens to rats. You don't last long. You working for an organization that's going against the organization that you fake infiltrated. At approximately 4 p.m., Redrick was ordered by his telephone to leave the fire station and report to headquarters, where he was advised that threats had been made on his life. He was therefore ordered to move his family to a motel under the assumed name Frank Holloman, former director of the police and fire of Memphis, Tennessee. Confound his ass out. Home when the squad car refused to move his family because a sick relative. And about the time squad car arrived in front of Redrick's office, it was announced on the radio that Dr. King has been shot. After a couple of days, did y'all notice that they said that somebody else took their stance? Remember they said somebody else was watching them and they took over. Remember those names. It's very interesting. I just think. Now, after a couple of days, Reddick did not hear any more about threats on his life. In our efforts to trace the source of the threat, we have found that Philip R. Manuel, investigator who with the Senate Investigation Committee chaired by Senator McCullen, was in Memphis on April 4th, 1968, while at the MPD. Manuel advised them based on a telephone call of his office in Washington. The Senate committee staff had information from an informant in Mississippi that Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party has made plans to kill a Negro lieutenant in Memphis. That man Yellow left Memphis on a 5 on a 5:50 p.m. flight to Washington the next day on April 5th, 1968. He telephoned MPD, advised them that there was the life of a Negro lieutenant in Knoxville rather than Memphis. Ooh. Now, neither Philip R. Manuel neither has a present recollection of providing this information regarding the threat of MPD, nor does he have a memorandum of the event. However, forever he confirmed that he was in Memphis and visited MPD at the time stated, and that his office did have a Mississippi source. However, he said the event sounded familiar and believed the MPD record was correct. Interesting. Now, although Rhetoric was released from duty and fire sanction number 2, Richmond remained there and continued to observe who entered and left the motel. Now, approximately 6 p.m., Richmond saw Dr. King leave his room, walk to the hall's handrail balcony. Then Reverend Billy Kyles was standing off to Dr. King's right, and an instant later, Richmond heard a loud, similar sound similar to a shot. He saw Dr. King fell from the handrail and put his hands up to his head at approximately 6:01 p.m. Richmond Telephone Headquarters reported that Dr. King had been shot. He was instructed to remain at the fire station. Richmond yelled to the members of MPD Tactical Squad, which he stopped at the station a few moments earlier, that he believed that Dr. King had been shot. Then he ran to the front of the fire station and looked north and south Main Street, but not see anyone running or walking except the men in a tactical squad who left the fire station running in different directions shortly thereafter. Interesting. I'll repeat, except the men in the tactical squad who left the fire station running in different directions shortly thereafter. Only motherfuckers leaving quick. Very, very interesting. Now Ray arrived to the fire station and instructed Richmond to go to the headquarters and make a detailed report of what he had seen. Now, the interview of Patrolman W.B. Richmond, this is his interview, okay? As of April 3rd, 1968, Norvell E. Wallace and E. Floyd E. Newman were also the only black firemen assigned to the fire station number two Memphis Fire Department. Wallace was working a night shift on April 3rd, and Newsom was scheduled to report the day shift on April 4th. Both of these individuals actively supported the sanitation worker strike, attending their rallies and making financial contributions. In a review of Wallace. In our review of Wallace, the interview on July 8th of 1976, at, he stated that about at 10 or 10:30 on the night of April 11th, his captain told him that a call had come in requesting that a man detailed to fire station number 33. He was immediately detailed to 33, and it was raining, and he was preparing to go to bed. And Wallace further stated that while the fire station number 33 was understaffed as a whole, there was a shortage of personnel for the pump track on which to be worked. Otherwise, he did not. Yada 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 yada. Okay, let me see where we at. Cause look, y'all got me reading away. Y'all got me reading away. We've been on this motherfucker for over an hour. Okay, we gonna stop it right there. Now I'm gonna do a part 2. So if you've been rocking with the channel, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for for tuning in, hit the like on your way out, comment, subscribe. I'm your humble host, Mr. Mass. Until the next one, we will do a part 2. I don't give a fuck. We gotta do a part 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We gonna get through this shit. You feel me? But I feel like we are masking a lot right now. If you feel like we are masking a lot right now, drop it in the comments and tell me what shocked you that I read so far. So what I read so far, if you can leave in the comments what surprised you, what shocked you that I read so far, because I know I've been going through a lot and I actually been getting a little tongue tied and all that shit. But it's alright though. Okay. Alright? I ain't nervous. I ain't one of them nervous motherfuckers that's scared to read, you feel me? Anyway, like I said, I've been breaking it down simple form for y'all. So what we know, it's a lot of crooked shit going on with this situation with Dr. King. Okay? Now as we keep continue to read these files, we don't know what we gonna end up. We don't know what we gonna land. We don't know what we gonna find. We don't know what we uncover. But I know that we here for it. So I appreciate y'all stopping by. On your way out, hit that like, comment, subscribe. Until the next one, Mr. Master TV. Oh, I will be doing a later video of baddies. I gotta do episode 20, I believe. I'm gonna talk my shit. Very, very interesting. And then I got a video I gotta do on politics because there's a lot of shit going on in the politics world. Okay. And to be honest, Democrats they done lost their damn mind. I have to say it. They done lost their fucking mind from the singing them slave songs on Capitol Hill to them having nervous breakdowns in the cabinet. It's a lot of shit going on, okay? Anyway, until the next one, like, comment, subscribe. I'm your host, Mr. Mass. Peace out.
Welcome to the show, it's Mr. Nice TV. Serving all the drama just the way it should be. Stars and news making headlines daily. Turn up the volume, let's span it through globally. Entertainment drama, it's all in our queue. Celebrities and headlines coming straight to you.